So let's begin. So thank you, and we're going to begin talking about our May 17th, 2016 ballot presentation. And what you see here is five pieces to a puzzle, and by the end of the presentation, you'll see all the five pieces coming together. All the work that we do, and I'm sure that you do here locally, is aligned to our mission statement and our core values. And you will see as we move forward with our presentation that as we created this budget and as we created these propositions, we created them with having our core values in mind and our mission statement in mind. Proposition 1, which is the 2016-2017 general fund budget. As we move forward, you can see that there is an increase in the levy to levy, 1.94% levy to levy increase from the previous year, as well as a 3.35% for the entire budget to budget increase. There's about 67% of this money is based on taxpayers, based on the taxpayers and what they need to pay for this entire budget. There are other items that we get subsidized and formulas that we put in together that create the entire budget of $221,199,261. So therefore, right now this is a 1.94 increase tax levy. What are my taxes going to be? They're going up 1.94%. We continue to sustain our wonderful instructional programs and other programs that we have in the district. This presentation is on our website and is extremely comprehensive to go through. In addition, we have the expansion of existing programs. So let's focus on some of those expansions. We're talking about new course offerings at the high school, additional assistant principal at each high school. We have instructional and non-instructional staffing. In addition to that, we have interscholastic sports, freshman boys basketball and baseball and modified cross country, junior high school intramurals and high school intramural volleyball, and in an 11-month assistant athletic coordinator. So moving forward, let's continue to talk about what does this 3.35 increase mean. Upgrades to Royce E. Ketchum and John Jay High School cafeteria, cameras for all school vehicles, Fuel Master diagnostic vehicle monitoring tool, elementary tutorial program, additional infrastructure work within school buildings, marching band, academic field trips, and maker spaces. For the past 6 years, the state, New York State, in terms of trying to balance their own budget, has been removing money from our schools. That's called the gap elimination adjustment. So whatever was lined up for schools, that money came out, and we weren't receiving that money. That's why many people wrote to legislators. You heard many Board of Education members, people lobbying for the restoration of the gap elimination adjustment. We finally have that restoration. At the very last hour, schools were notified that that money has been restored. Has all that money been restored? Absolutely not. But we know that we did get a chunk of that money. And based on that, what we really, as we continue to balance this budget, what we really thought about was, how do we utilize those funds? Do we bring back everything that existed in the Wappinger Central School District in terms of personnel, in terms of other programs and activities? And right now, it wouldn't be fiscally responsible to do that. Because if we move in that direction, we may have to say goodbye to it in a year or two. We don't know exactly what this restoration and the sustainability of this restoration really means for our school district and for the entire state of New York. So as we continue to move forward and we continue to create a budget, we're looking at items that need a lot of work. Take, for example, I just pulled in this driveway, and the first thing that came to my head was like, wow, this will be taken care of. So there's a lot of work to do. Our curb appeal in our school district, many items need a lot of work in our school district. And that, I've only been here 3 short years, and that was one of the first things that I noticed right away. Why 3.2 E&L teachers? That's a big jump. Well, we started looking at the data. Let's take the high school, for example. Royce E. Ketchum High School has been considered the E&L center for the high school students. They have a rather large number And what we realized was that over 50% of the ENL students at Royce E. Ketchum High School belong to the John Jay High School community. So why are they going to a school outside of their community? The goal of this administration is to continue to build a district where we can really create the least restrictive environment from every angle. The idea of really trying to keep students in their neighborhood schools. We continue to move forward. We're also going to continue to look at our students with 504s and our students with an IEP to see how we can continue to create really strong, viable programs where students can actually stay in their neighborhood schools. So with that restoration money, instead of that $30,000 each year, let's look at all the schools, let's put it together, and we're looking at approximately $300,000 that would help us to fix all of our schools in terms of their playground equipment and other recreational equipment. That's also a one-time expense added to the budget. Now let's go back to that 1.94%. I'm going to share with you right now why this tax levy adjustment is unique. During this school year, Global Foundries purchased IBM. IBM was a pilot. A pilot means a payment in lieu of taxes. They're not on the tax roll. They basically say, wait a minute, the assessment is too high. There's a special formula. We won't get into pilots, but just to give you an idea that they're not on the tax roll. When Global Foundries purchased IBM, they did not seek a pilot. They got on the tax roll. And based on the fact that they got on the tax roll, this is what happened. The result was that technically the 150 million plus from the previous year going up to 159 million is really a 6.13% increase. However, 1.94%, that's the increase for all of the taxpayers except for Global Foundries, where they will have a 4.19% increase that it's about a little over $6 million, thus creating that 1.3% increase. That's how we came up with this tax levy, to basically show you the picture from a chart perspective of what this $221,199,261 mean. And here it is. See the breakdown? The tax levy, the additional restoration money was 1.11%, state aid 23.51%, and as you can see, all the other indicators that created this budget, this proposed budget for the 2016-17 school year. Let's move over to Proposition 2. That's the capital project referendum. Every 5 years, school districts are required to do a building condition survey. And this year, we completed the 5-year building condition survey, which indicated we have about $87 million worth of repairs in the district. The previous building condition survey indicated we had $90 million worth of improvements in our district. What I can tell you right now, we have more than half of our schools that are still not in compliance with the American Disabilities Act from 1990. What is this project budget about? We talked about the ADA improvements, facility improvements. We have many facility improvements still to address. We have sports improvements. So when we're talking about sports improvements, I'm sure you've heard the new football fields for Royce E. Ketchum High School, John Jay Senior High School. Those are some of them. And then there's the arts improvements. 47.2% state aid reimbursement, which then turns out what we would really be paying as a school district is $14,109,744. And the project budget includes, just so that you're aware, construction cost, contingency, and the 20% incidental cost. Then if your house is assessed at $100,000, then we're talking an additional monthly payment of about $1.12. If your house is worth $500,000, we're talking about an additional $5.63. Proposition 3, change in scope. So this is a big one. This is definitely a big one because last year this was one of the propositions in terms of looking at our high school, Orchard View Alternative High School, and Central Office Administration. When the voters approved the present capital project, it was also with the understanding that Wappinger Central School District will, bless you, Wappinger Central School District will no longer rent any facilities. We would say goodbye to all of our rentals. We were successful in every area except for Orchard View Alternative High School and Central Office Administration. We went to the voters last year to ask if we can change the language, because in the capital project, there's already $3 million set aside. $3 million was set aside to construct or reconstruct in the school district for Central Office Administration and Orchard View Alternative High School. Last year, we tried to reconstruct and construct new space, attach it to Myers Corners Elementary School. When we went for bid, it was over $1 million over the $3 million that we have. We have this money. So what did we decide to do? We decided that we would rent. Now, when we were at 167 Myers Corners Road, we were paying almost $1 million for rent when you tied it all together. Now we're paying $395,100. We tried to purchase the property. We made this the proposition. The voters did not approve it. But others felt that we do have space in our schools to actually put Central Office in Orchard View Alternative High School. Now I can tell you, yeah, anything is possible, but there's also something historically that's happened in this school district. We have I don't want to say large class sizes, super large class sizes. And that historically has happened in our schools. And this administration really believes that we need to continue to work on decreasing class sizes. That is very important to the regular school day and for all of you with students in your classroom. And what I can tell you is that if you look at the data, we set forth with kindergarten and first grade, and we have 22 or less students in our kindergarten classes and our first grade classes, and we want to continue to move in that trajectory. Therefore, when you talk about is there space, there's space with 30 students in a classroom. There's space, we have chemistry classes at John Jay Senior High School that have 30 students in there. So we're not talking about something that's not realistic. We still need to work on creating class sizes that work for our teachers and our students in our schools. So what does this mean? We move forward. If we stop paying this $395,000 of rent, we can save up to $250,000 as a school district with the money that's set aside. So if we change the language from construct to reconstruct to purchasing, we'll be able to take the $3 million that has already been set aside for district office and Orchard View Alternative High School, and the district can see up to a savings of $250,000. So if this proposition passes, you can see this on the website, as well as the things that I mentioned already in terms if it fails. So both scenarios are there. Please take time to read through those scenarios. But as I said before, I'd like to end with this one. Continuing to rent instead of purchasing is not fiscally responsible. Position 4, what I can tell you is the student vehicle replacement plan, especially in large school districts, this is a must. Each year, if you want to continue to provide the safety and security of our students and really have a viable transportation department, you have to retire some buses and bring in some new buses. And basically, what I can share with you, these are some facts that we wanted to share with you. In purchase of new vehicles, we're talking about purchasing 24 new vehicles and retiring 26 vehicles. And we use the word retiring because we mean that they go to auction. It's not like we just get rid of them. We still try to get some money for them. And the net annual cost of transportation is $178,932. So that's Proposition 4. Proposition 5, repair reserve funding. You've heard of the term fund balance. So we're really doing fairly well with our fund balance. We are where we're supposed to be. The board approved it to put money in the repair reserve fund. And what it allows us to do, in the event of an emergency, we're able to utilize that fund to take care of any emergencies we may have in the school district. A section of a roof may fall apart, a tree falls on it, let's just say, then we're allowed to go and utilize those funds and repair. It's only for repair. Coming together so we can do great things for all of our schools in our district.